Hello and welcome to the second season of Ruffells Ad Break. In this episode, I have a chat with Michelle Shirtcliffe, co-founder and CE of Publica. We talk about being data-driven, creating your own luck, and women in power. Also, a massive thanks to our sponsor, Pegasus Bay Wines, producer of some of New Zealand's very best wine.
Ruffells Ad Break.
If you were to intro yourself and your true, honest self, what would that...
My true, honest self, not my work spiel.
Well, who are you? Who are we talking to?
I guess that you've picked up on the right thing, that numbers do weave stories. And I do have a finance background, so everything that I see for myself is through normally a numbers or finance lens. That's how I read, that's how I take the pulse on things, that's how I sort of interpret the world.
Yep.
So if I was to introduce myself... Oh, look, that's a really interesting question. I'll tell you why. Because I have a stigma about being the admin or finance person, and I've really moved on from that. So when I dig back deep into it, it's just like, is that what people see me as? Do you know what I mean?
Really? Yeah.
So yeah, I would, I'd introduce myself as the CE of Publica, and that what I really truly believe in is bringing people and communities together. However, my background is based around finance and financial literacy, and seeing things through numbers and data is really important to me as well.
But that's a strength though, right? Because that's understanding finite, definite terms or data or information,
yep,
and then being able to do something with that. So yes, it's not all wishy-washy.
No.
That's very much grounded in what information do we have and what can we do with it.
Yeah, and I think the thing that I've learned over the trajectory of my career is that numbers and data, because we work in tech at Publica, is intimidating to a lot of people. And when we talk about marketing or leadership, it's like, how do you translate those numbers to a story? Which is a lot of what we do in marketing, it's a lot of what we do in storytelling, just across the board. And that would be the one thing that I think that I would have learned how to do as time has gone on.
So you're a translator?
Yeah, I like that.
Is that the thing? Is that what you do? Is that, at its core, have you always been good at that? Have you always been good at sort of disseminating information and going, what does it really mean? And I can see these people are confused, or is that...
Yeah, I guess my strength would definitely lie in my previous roles before I had the business. It wasn't finance, but quite often you'd go in and read numbers and you'd be able to see where the problems were. And I used to come in and do a lot of fixing. Yeah. And I think that's really leaning into the management accountant side of things, and probably why my career has gone in the direction that it has, not staying as an accountant.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, you're right. There is a lot of fear around numbers. There's a lot of fear around sort of simple maths that we probably should all know. But unless you're a business person, unless you're dealing in that world, maybe you're not using maths to that level. So that's why, I don't know. I think there's a disconnect, isn't there, between maths or mathematical literacy and then people who are waiting to get to 15, 16, 17 and they don't have to do maths anymore.
Yeah.
Because they think that's the end of their maths journey in life.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people it probably is, but not business owners.
Yeah, and I think that there is that, but I think also at the end of the day in a business there's everything else that you create, and I'm not dumbing that down in any way. There's culture and people and the ethos of what you're doing and why you're doing it. But at the end of the day, there's this black and white reality of the number in order to be able to continue, right,
yep,
as a business. And I think when people are faced with the reality of that, sometimes it's like, maybe I'm not performing, or like I don't understand that, or how did you get there sort of thing. And they're the things that people are really frightened of, is like they don't understand, and it comes back to a reflection on themselves, because it's data, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then there's maybe embarrassed about putting their hand up and saying, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's
or just
petrifying.
saying, yes, I do understand, but no, I don't really. Yeah.
Oh, yes, I do understand, but no, I don't want it to read that way.
Yeah. Yeah, we've all been there.
I don't like it. don't like the info.
Yeah.
Hey, so where did it start for you then? So what was growing up for you? What was that like? You know, are you an only child? Are you from multiple children? Are you where do you sit in that? You know.
Yeah, so I'm the oldest of three. And there's 5 years between the three of us, so yeah, we were all quite close. My dad is a Māori and my mum is a Pākehā, and I was actually brought up as a Pākehā. And a journey that I've been on really recently is going back into my heritage. My younger brother and sister have young children, and so of course they've really got into that a little bit more through the children. And
understanding whakapapa. Yep.
Yeah, and the language, and for me, I've sort of been a little bit more on the tail end of it, and also being the eldest as well, I've had to bridge the gap with the trauma from, you know, what it was like back then with mum and dad. So yeah, brought up as a Pākehā. I've asked my mum this recently, like, what was I like as a kid, mum? And because you know how sometimes you have a perception of it, and then what other people think, no. And she said that I was really determined, I still am, conscientious and shy. Okay. And I would say that is probably spot on.
Yep.
Yeah, I hated school.
Always?
Always hated school because I wanted to be really academic, and I'm not. And
why did you want to be academic?
Because I saw it as being really intelligent, and that's how I was going to make it in the world.
Okay.
And I was like always above average, but I was never at the top, and I just couldn't ever, like, for me, I like growth is a thing for me, so I could never really get to the top. And then I was quite sporty as well, but I'm quite short, so, you know, tennis, no, netball, only so far you could get. You know, like I was pretty quick, but not quick enough.
Oh, man.
So I could never really get to that scale of where I wanted to get to.
Yeah.
So, and also, you know, I think you might find this as well, I can't be told what to do. And at school, you get told what to do all the time, right? You got to wear this uniform, you got to, that wasn't me.
Yeah.
So, when I left school, I had the choice. I got into university, or I got my first job at Trust Bank Canterbury, and I took the job.
Yep.
Because I was like, I just can't face 3 years of going to lectures and learning. And look, I think I had a little bit of regret about that later on, because I probably just should have done it.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I went straight to university because I knew if I didn't go then and there, it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
You know? And so I thought, well, if I just jump in, because the alternative was, my parents were really clear on this. I mean, I've been trying to leave school since the end of fifth form, or what is that, year 11?
Yeah.
And my parents were like, yeah, that's fine. You go and get a job. You pay for your way. And I was like, but what do you mean? You know, and I've worked since 8 years old. I had a paper round, you know, that sort of thing. So work wasn't the thing that was frightening me, but it was like I really was going to have to do some real world work for continuous money to pay that. So I went back to school, and then I was like, oh shit, I better go to uni. So that was it, because otherwise I think I would have jumped out. So so you started working, and so what are you, 18 years old, 19 years old? How
I started working from about like 14. I've done all sorts of jobs always because I really wanted to be independent. Yep. It was like something that was really important to me.
Get it?
Yeah, and I've done all sorts of jobs.
What were they? What were some of those jobs that you've done?
I worked for a long time at the warehouse when it was in its infancy. I really enjoyed doing that, actually.
Like stacking shelves or at the checkout?
I was at the checkout.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. One of the jobs that I did for a long time, which I hated, but it was really good money, was mushroom picking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, have you ever done that before?
Not commercially, no.
They grow in these bays. Hey, look, it might have changed. This was years ago. They grow in these bays, and so you have to climb up this ladder and reach across the bay to get the mushrooms.
Was this Meadows?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've done some work out there recently, and it's pretty flash.
Yeah. Oh, is it?
They're now an electronic...
Did they actually automate picking the mushrooms?
They have humans on the machines, but they set the... I don't know if I can even talk about this, but probably can. But the pickers are just incredible. I mean, it's effectively the same thing. It's like a ladder. Yeah. More or less. But it elevates and moves. And
so you can pick... Yeah, well, so
when speed.
Back in the day... Hold my hand. And I couldn't reach across the bay to get at the back. And then we'd have to pull these big trays down And then I remember sitting in this smoko room that was it's about as big as this room here, and it was crammed with people smoking, and it just wasn't for me. But the money was really good, so I stuck it out. But it didn't last too long at that one. Yeah.
What was your worst? What was your worst ever job?
And then when I was travelling, I was in Bristol for a while, and I got a job in an insurance company doing filing.
Okay. And you mean back in the day filing, where everything's in paper, in folders, I had to go indexed and
I'm really showing my age. I had to go and take the paper off the people's desks because they were doing all these claims, and then take them back and put them in the alphabetical thing. And it wasn't very well organised, so I whipped that into shape. And they were like, I said, I'm leaving. After about 6 months, I'm going. And they're like, no, please stay. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I will never do this long term. But look, it looks great.
But as long as you can keep up with the system I've put in place, it'll be fine. Yeah, excellent. Okay, so you're sort of, so first job is, tell me again, did you say?
When it was called Trustback Canterbury as a teller.
Yeah, and okay, as a teller. So you're in finance? I mean, is that how it works? You've already done some organising and all that kind of stuff. Is that what you're thinking?
I think I did really well at maths and accounting at school, and then I only worked at Trustbank for like a year. Like being on the front line in customer service is probably not the best use of my skills. And then I got a job at a construction firm, and I started doing the accounts there. And I worked there for 4 years before I went overseas, and that's where I really started learning how to do accounts and bookkeeping, and that was where it really took off. Yeah.
So what about marketing? At what stage did you start, or at what stage, storytelling, should we say, what stage did you start seeing the stories emerge out of the numbers? How did you see that opportunity to shift between?
I think it was when I was in England. I worked for a company for 4 years, and in that time, I'd done some tertiary training in England, because I knew that if you're going to be an accountant, you probably need to do a little bit more than high school accounting. So I'd done that on the side, and then I moved into retail, and I moved into production management and PR and service-based businesses, and that's where I really started having to look at numbers and then explain them to, like, some of them were creatives, business owners and things like that, that's really where it started emerging.
And do you find any trends within that world when you're trying to explain numbers to business owners? So what are the things that they are maybe...
What do they say mostly? What do you mean we went over on that job? Was it that bad? Really? What do you mean it cost us that? See how much it cost us.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So there's no financial control, or the financial control was something that was limited.
Back then.
Yeah. Is it tightened up, or do you think the world has tightened up? And
absolutely.
People are more...
I think all the systems that are available to us now have really bridged that gap, to give us more clarity over how that works, and sort of integrating more finance with job costing as well. Like when I started out, it was pretty siloed, and now it's just all the systems that you get, it's all in one place. So that makes things a lot easier.
A lot easier to read. It's almost like the ivory tower of those sort of specialisms. Once upon a time, we're like, this is the lane. If you need to go and learn something about finance, you go and see the Oracle over here. If you need to learn something about, and everything is...
Isn't that weird that so many things were like that? Not just finance. It was just kind of like, when we started Publica, there was design, and then there was development, and we didn't talk to each other, but we expected the development to look like the design. It did not.
Well, how can it? How can it? You don't sit in the same room. How can it work? But look, the amount of stuff in the early days when I think about some of the meetings that we had, where we were given sort of, I don't know, maybe 20% of the information to be able to be successful in delivering a brief, but the rest wasn't for us. So go and produce this TV commercial. We're not going to tell you about all this other stuff, but go and produce this. And on one hand, that's great, because, you've got this job and you've got these really tight parameters. So as long as it hits expectation, you've done your job. It's not that interesting, No. No,
and I think, do you think, though, when they were giving you that 20%, they thought that they were doing the right thing. I think a lot of people did think that was like, that's all they need to do this, and I'll take on pulling everything together rather than bringing the people together to produce the outcome.
It could be. It really could be. We've recently had a piece of work where, to be honest, it's probably 10 years since I've had this kind of business model. It's an Auckland agency, and we serviced a piece of work here for them. Man, I mean, nobody knows. The left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing, what colour the left sock is versus, is it raining outside? Nobody knew. And so everyone was kind of guessing. And what a stressful environment that is,
I know.
Because everyone's trying to do the best of their part in it.
Yeah.
But nobody's set up for success.
No. And that does come down to a lot of, I don't think a lot of people have the skills to know how to bring those things together. I don't think it's from not wanting to. It's just, how do you actually do that? And there's a skill in itself, right?
Yep. But open. Be open. Have open communication. Everybody, you work for the job, you work for the client, everybody works together on one thing, and it's like, cool, we're aligned.
Yeah.
Now we're going to win. What a surprise.
Yeah.
What a surprise. What a surprise.
Yeah. So there.
Make success easy for everyone. And guess what? We won.
Yeah.
When you get a win for the client, because that's who's paying the bills and they're the ones who have asked you for the thing, you get a win for them, they are stoked, you're stoked because you can share the work that you're stoked about producing with them, for them, everybody wins.
But also, your team has gone on this amazing journey of knowing every single piece and being able to hand the bat into the right person and
make it
being able to
smooth.
see the result at the end. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what were you thinking? Are you a bit...
what am I thinking?
Not right in the head. You decided, I'm going to go and start an agency. I'm going to co-found an agency. I'm going to become CEO.
Yeah.
I know what I have to do. This is what I have to do. What's that?
Oh, look, I always knew I was going to go into business. I just didn't know what the business was going to be. And mainly because I'd get into these businesses and I'd get so far and I'd be like, I really want to change, I want to do radical change or anything. And I'd be like, no, we do it this way. And I'd be like, I'm out. So go on to the next thing. So I always knew that I wanted to give it my own, put a stamp on something that was mine. And it wasn't, when I left the UK, I was working for a company that put accounting job costing software into agencies. And because I was an accountant, I ended up freelancing for the agencies as an accountant and then putting the system in. And I took it out to Australia and I worked there for a year implementing it in some agencies in Australia. So I was I was in the creative service industry by that stage. And so when I came home, to get married the first time, I applied for a job at an agency in town and I got it. And I actually, do you know what? I remember going in and thinking, I can say this now, I don't even know if I want this job. I just don't really know where I'm sort of going next. And I got it and I was like, okay, right, so I'm just going to give this a go.
Oh, bugger, I got it.
Yeah. And my marriage broke down pretty quickly after I got married. It was super fast, one of those life lessons. And
it's good to see you're lighthearted about that. That's good.
Yeah, I've got to laugh about it. And then I met my business partner and husband actually at that agency that I was at. So when I met him, I think there's 10 years between us. And so he'd sort of had this career and, he had two beautiful girls and they were a little bit older and he was really ready to do the next thing. And I was like, we'll do anything. We're going. And I was talking to him about this morning actually, and he was like, you made me do it. And I was like, yeah, I know. I know I did. I was like, come on, let's go.
Great. But then maybe you're how do you see yourself then? Are you the level ground? Are you the rock? Or, are you just... How does it work? What drives you?
I think we're both risk takers, and that's a really risky place to be for both of us. And I think sort of as time's gone on, we've sort of moved from the rock to the risk taker through everything that we've done. In the early days, Mark was most definitely like, let's try this, let's go into development, let's go into apps, let's try, no one's done this before, let's do it. And I'll be like, okay, we're doing it. Like, just
bring it all together.
Yeah.
Tidy it up.
And I think as time's gone on, he's kind of leveled with it a bit, and I'll be a little bit more risky and go, let's try this, but it's probably in a little bit more of a calculated way than Mark would just go. Yeah.
And so, as you were saying, your mum said that you were shy, you were conscientious and determined.
Yeah.
Is that proven true over time?
Yeah, I'm still really determined. I'm not so shy anymore. I actually don't even know how to break out of that. I am conscientious. I do like doing the right thing. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have an internal set of rules that I live by. A lot of people. So yeah.
And what is it? How do you? What is one of the things that? Is there one way you like to work? Is there something that's really important to you that you won't compromise on? Or?
Yeah, collaboration. Yeah, absolutely. Like bringing a team together and bringing everybody along on the journey.
Yeah, awesome. And is that also the client, or is that just an internal kind of a thing?
Is it for me? In my position now, it's an internal thing, but I make sure that I teach that to my team so they can bring the client, because they work in the projects a lot more, and Mark does as well, along on the journey. And it's something that we stand by at Publica as well. You know, making sure that everybody has transparency and all the buzzwords, but we really make sure that we work on that.
It's almost like hospitality, though, isn't it? You know, when you go to a restaurant or a cafe or something, there's a very big difference between getting the thing that you ordered put in front of you and feeling really good about being in that place. There's a really big difference, right?
Changes the taste.
Absolutely does.
Yeah.
Absolutely does.
Yep.
And how bad is it when you've got a place you love and the staff changes or the owners or management change and the whole thing is different, right?
I know. It's really disappointing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. All right. So what is it that you want to get out of the work that you do? What is that?
The work that I do at Publica is that I really want to contribute to Otatahi and the community, and sort of I see, we talk about the earthquakes and we talk about COVID, but for me, where we are now as a city is this place of emergence, and I can feel it over the last 2 years. I've been to Wellington on Sydney on some various things, and when I'm talking to people about it, I'm like, in the last 2 years, I've really noticed the shift, which I love, and I want to be part of it. I want Publica to be part of it, and I want to be part of it.
It's kind of like the government money, stopped, private money had to come back, and there was a little bit of, what do we do? And then it's kind of like there's been a period of time where it's like, okay, well, we've got this lockdown, we've got COVID, we've got all that kind of stuff. But we've kind of been there, done that.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Whereas the rest of the nation sort of hadn't.
Yeah.
They'd seen it from the peripheries, and I wonder if we
switched gears really quickly, didn't we?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, just back to that. We'll just we'll chill out for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then
take a break.
Hey, I'm not even wearing shorts on the Zoom meeting, and that became normal. Maybe not that bit.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, we were able to pivot.
Yes.
Excuse the buzzword. But probably faster, because I used to say around the earthquakes, fucked up as the new normal, because it really was.
Oh, totally.
And you didn't know whether that was driving down the street and your usual way to go to work, now you can't for 3 months.
Yeah.
Or, things just changed so quickly, right?
Yeah.
So we were probably in a better stead for it.
Yeah, totally. It was, those, if I think back to the earthquake now, and I think, straight after it, it was incredibly traumatic, right? But at the same time, sort of the groups and people and the coming together was a little bit exciting. And you're right, after COVID, we just pivoted straight to, some of that was just business as usual, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was. It was a learned behaviour that we'd learned just to do, and off we went. Yeah, and I love the way that you've framed that. It made me think about it.
No one else was coming to save us.
Oh, no.
Again.
Yeah.
So dig in. you know, and don't take it so seriously, you know, maybe just breathe a little bit.
Yeah,
I see
everything's going to be okay.
It will be, you know, and because it always has been. And as long as you're not making stupid decisions or panicking, then it'll be fine because it is. But, you know, also I've noticed a lot of people, especially here, are taking more time, and maybe that's the people I hang out with, I don't know, maybe I'm living in an artificial bubble, just taking a bit more time to go and walk in the hills or go get out and take a couple of days for themselves, whereas once upon a time they might have felt guilty for taking that time for themselves. So I think there's kind of like, and I think that's part maybe of what you're talking about the last couple of years. It has felt like an emergence. It has felt like there are people doing things for a better reason than just doing them.
Yes.
And I think maybe it's because people are looking after themselves a little bit better.
Yeah, I think so. I really feel like in the last 2 years, and I don't know if it's because I am a woman, but there has been a real emergence of women in leadership.
There has been, yeah.
Māori leadership as well.
Yep.
And I like it. Yeah, and it's kind of, it just feels a little bit different.
Yeah. Well,
we see it differently. And there's not one thing that's happened. I think that we've been trying to do this for a long time, right? Yep. But it just, when I'm out in the community now, it is definitely different. I'm trying to grasp onto what that is, but I'm not exactly sure why it feels different now than it did pre-COVID.
Well, maybe it's the resistance to the way that we were working pre-COVID versus post-COVID. We're less resistant to change.
Yes.
You know, and so because of that, it's better for everybody,
and it's more open.
You know. And I think one thing that we talk about quite a lot is that, and actually we have struggled with on the podcast in particular, is I always say, and this is not me, I stole this from somewhere, I just can't remember, so I'm going to plagiarise it. But we always say that we basically will say to a man who has 35% of the information, do you want to do it? And they'll say, yeah, why not? We speak to women who are 85% qualified and they say, I don't know that I've got enough to contribute. You know, and I think that's starting to shift as well, you know, so, you know, fingers crossed.
I've got so much to say on that topic.
We'll go for it.
I totally agree, but I think that's changing. I think that what I see is there is a lot more... not only a lot more women that will say yes when they have the 85%, what I'm also seeing in some of the communities that I'm in is a real evenness and acceptance from the men. And, you know, I'm all for women in leadership and everything like that, but there are some great men out there advocating for women in some of the circles. I think you just need to find them, and they're being really empowering. And I've noticed that in the last year, for sure. Just a real change in the way that people are behaving. And I love that, because I think that some of the reasons that things are so hard is there's all of the gender things that we can talk about, males and privilege and all of those kind of things. But at the end of the day, it's behaviour. And I think that people are behaving a little bit better, a little bit more aware.
Bit more grown up,
but more accepting, and I really like it. And I'm not just saying young men or... either. I'm seeing it across the board. So I am an advocate for... I've had some really good male role models in my life. And I know there's some shitty ones out there as well, but there's shitty women out there as well, you know.
Shitty people.
Shitty people, right?
People who are dicks.
So I think that people are, there's been like this realisation, and I think for me it's around behaviour, and I think that is great.
It is. Well said. Very well said. Speaking about behaviour. Okay, tell me a shitty story. Tell me something where it's gone wrong. Don't need to name and shame if you don't want to, but like, have you had those examples where who hasn't?
If you haven't had that example, have you lived?
Well, because I kind of want to get to the what you learnt from it, and you know, because that's kind of just as important, right? Give me some context.
I remember when we first started Publica, because we started in brand and we did that for 2 years, and we decided to merge with a small web development company. So we brought a really small one, we bought them in-house, and Mark's really good at sales. I was like, running the ship, and we had these experts in development. And at the same time, it was really early on, we decided to bring in native iOS and Android development. It was so new then. If you remember some of those first apps that you had, like we were developing during that time. And so we won this project, and it was an app with a web service behind it. And we had decided, and look, we would never do this now. This is when we were first starting, and we decided to do it on this new platform. And we had these experts, and they said it would be, that'd be a really good thing to do. And Mark and I were like, okay, let's do that. And we were presenting the apps, and 2 hours before we were meant to have this meeting, they were like, oh, we're not finished.
Oh, shit.
And so we had to go into this meeting.
Is this final work, or is this...
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, they weren't done. And so we had to go into this meeting and fess up, and Mark was great. He bought us like a week. And so that was cool. Like we managed to get through that, and then so we went back to the team, and we were like, so in a week's time, the last thing that we want to do is do this again. 2 hours before, an hour before, we need to be finished. Like, what do we need to do? So we went through this thing, and then Mark and I went off on our merry way. Experts, it'll be done. We were nearly there. Come in a week again. This client comes in a week again, 2 hours before, and they're like, yeah, it's not finished.
Oh, it hurts. It hurts me.
It's what I learned is we had to go into this meeting and fess up, and like there was one thing that I really learned in that meeting, and that was that you really need to tell the truth. The truth is absolutely going to be the thing that gets you through. I realised my husband is a kick-ass negotiator. He should always do that job. But I also learned, I think, like from what I learned was there's a time to lead and there's a time to manage.
Yep.
And in that first instance, that there was a time to manage, and I needed to learn. I learned really quickly that you need to cut through the bullshit with people, and you need to get to the crux of it. And for us, because we work in a technical environment, for me, I didn't need to understand technically how to do it. That shouldn't be a barrier. But I needed to understand the details of where we're at, how we were getting there, because quite often experts, they'll be expert at making something, but they might not be an expert at overcoming problems or deciding what it looks like next. And that's where we came in. And it was a really hard lesson on learning to know when to stay close to it, when to manage.
Yep.
When to lead, and that was absolutely a moment that when I needed to manage, and I I probably abdicated from it, not realising that I was doing it, trusting somebody else, but needless to say, that doesn't happen these days at all, but it was a really fast lesson on management.
Oh, look, absolutely. Well, I've got a very, very, very similar story to that. It was around an animation project, which, we had to get somebody who had a very specific skill set, and we thought, wow, this is... And we'd seen the work we'd worked with before, no problem, all that kind of stuff. So we had a really high level of trust and expectation. And for whatever reason, the ball was dropped, and it was like, oh, shit. How do we do this? And then the same thing, we pushed out, we were lucky to get an extension, same thing. It's like, and we've got people pulling hair out, in the background going, fucking hell, how are we going to deliver? We've promised this, and we've promised it based off, we've missed the first deadline, and we've promised something else based on your information. And you're still not coming to the party.
You really want to, there's so many things that come into you want to blame, you want to do all of these things, and you can't. You just have to literally take it on. And I think it's the hardest thing to do as a manager or a leader is to impart that trust to an expert, and then to deal with what happens when it goes wrong. And I think it's the difference between a really good leader and a not such a good leader is you take it on and then you deal with it.
Well said. Couldn't have put
very,
that
very early on.
That's
one of the first
bang
projects.
That's fuck. Okay. Well, yay.
Yay. Not there now.
And also, don't have to do it again. Great. Yeah. Great. Learn fast. Move on.
Yes. Yep.
Hey. Okay. I suppose a little bit in that same sort of world is timing, right? So there's never any good timing. Sometimes things work well, but, for example, I don't know about you, but for us anyway, when did we have elections in September? Was it September?
Yep.
So always around elections, if it's going to be a close race, or if it's going to swing one way or the other, everything comes to a grinding halt. Like everything gets put on pause. If it's going to, the same team's going to carry over, then, there's a little bit of a breather, and that's quite nice to catch your feet. If it's COVID and you don't know it's coming and you've done the work, but that work is dependent on being paid by whether or not that event or that thing happens, and now you are not being paid, that's outside of your control. There are all these sort of things. So is there anything, such thing as good timing, or is it just get on with it and make the most of what's in front of you? How do you mitigate that stuff?
Yeah, I don't think there is such a thing as good timing. I do believe in luck. I think that as a business owner in business, there are times when you have a little bit of luck on your side. I am in the crypto world quite a lot. I don't know if you're in crypto. It's super volatile.
Yeah. I know people who are. I'm not.
And it's like this, the one thing that I've learned from trading crypto is to leave your emotions at the door. And man, that was a hard lesson to learn, because you learn it with your own money, right? And just to look at things and step back and look at them and get perspective, and to leave that emotion at the door and just to manage or lead through it. And I think that all those things that happen in terms of, COVID and the elections, because, we've had the same things, clients will stop and then they'll start, or the ones that you think are going to stop, they just double down, and you never know where it's going to come from. But it's having the ability to be able to manage that, stand back and look at it and then push through. And it's the execution of that I think gets you to the place or to the outcome that you need to get to, rather than standing in, So, yeah, I'm not sure about timing. I don't think there is ever a right time. Is there a right time to leave your business? Is there a right time to start it? We started a business in a recession. Is there a right time to start a business? No. Is there, a right time to have kids? No, probably not. Never. If you were going to time it, no, there would never be a right time. No. So, no, I don't know that I really believe in the timing, but I do truly believe that, you create your own luck, right? And you create your own opportunities, and that is by the way that you operate in the world. And I do believe that there is you can have a little bit of luck on your side.
Well, it's the harder you work, the luckier you become.
Oh, I like that.
Mm-hmm. But the problem is knowing where to put the effort, right?
Yeah.
That's the bit.
Do you reckon you learn that as you get a little bit older?
I think you learn to pull the pin earlier.
Oh, yeah. Know when to stop.
Yeah, or know when to stop can come before you've started. That's the best time to stop.
Yeah. Sack them if they suck, right?
Sack them if they suck.
Yeah, do it really early on.
Really? Yeah.
I'm so there.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Hey, also, obviously, you're involved in a bunch of... idea building, and leadership's obviously on your mind, and that's through the business. It's your personal brand as well. You're on committees and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's evident that you sort of are breathing this thing. You're not just talking about it. So is that because you are trying to learn? Is it the returning to the community? Is it that it gives you insights for business? What talk to me through that.
Wow, that's such a good question.
You're just bored, like at school. You were bored and you needed more to do.
Yeah. I definitely don't need more to do, but yeah, if there's anything out there exciting for me to do, I'm here for it. I have a real... being part of this city is really, really important to me. And I think a couple of years ago, I just woke up and I decided two things. I was going to go grey, and I really wanted to throw myself into this next phase of not only myself, but Publica, and being part of something bigger than myself. And it's a story that a lot of people tell, but Mark's mother passed away a couple of years ago, and going through that process, I'd never really had anybody die close to me at all, and understanding your own mortality, and that you basically get one shot. And I mean, our girls are growing up now, they're 28 and 26, they live in New York and London, they're like doing their thing, and like I love that they are. So we're pretty much empty nesters. We have a dog, a pug, and so I was like, this is my opportunity now to actually step in and to make a difference to the things that I believe in. And I'm so privileged that my husband allows me to do that. Like, he's, Michelle, I just want to do a really good job of projects. I want the client to be happy. I am here to serve and to make projects amazing. Please take the business in the direction that he never held on to it. And because he was the face of it for many years, and there's sort of been this change, and he has just allowed it. And you know, I have a full female management team around me, and then the other businesses I work in, they're led by women, and my husband sits there. I have other men in the business as well, and they just allow this all to happen. And I was like, well, I'm just going to take this and try and have a voice and try and lean into some of the things that are really important to me and see what happens. And kind of, I guess this is what's happened. I've like really found my feet in sort of the tech community, and I love my Unpopular Opinions event. Although, thank you for speaking on Unpopular Opinions. I have to say, do you know how hard it is to get men to speak at Unpopular Opinions? Like, all the women put their hand up, but the men will have the opinion, but when it comes to speaking, no.
Yeah, classic Kiwi male, right?
It's really hard to get them to actually stand up and stand on that opinion.
Well, I don't know that was the best that you've had, but look, I was there. I turned up. So.
It was amazing. Like, so many people have said it to me out in the community. They're like, sack him over the sack. And I'm like, yeah, no, you should. It's great.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on Unpopular Opinions. I think that's still online if people want to go and check it out. And it's an event to go and see if people are here in Otautahi, Christchurch. So run along to that. And thank you for your time today. Thank you for your generosity and for being open and honest. And we really appreciate it. So
cool.
Excellent.
I'm privileged to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for listening, Pod Peeps. For more info on how we work or what we can bring to your business or project, get in touch at ruffles.co.nz. See you on the next one.